Hello, you're back with a single malt review. We are no strangers to Loch Lomond, having visited their fair shores a few times. Today we're going for the original.
Yes, we are. Appearing. Oh, there we go, there I am. Goodbye, Campbell, thank you for that. Always a pleasure. Yes, we've actually looked at quite a lot of Loch Lomond. I'm doing it again. Loch Lomond, not Loch Lomond. Naughty, naughty, naughty pronunciation there. Campbell left his mouse up here. We've looked at almost... no, I think Tom and Tool is probably still the champion one we've weirdly looked at a lot of releases for, but we've certainly seen quite a bit of what Loch Lomond has to offer, and it has to offer quite a broad spectrum. They make bloody everything in that distillery slash facility slash whatever they've got rumbling along there on the shores of the loch, presumably, because they not only do they make malt whisky, they make peated malt whisky, they make grain whisky, which is some sort of weird fake grain whisky made out of barley. They just column still it. It's a bizarre place. It is Willy Wonka's Scotch whisky factory, that is for sure. But this, presumably, being their cheapest, their most no-age statement, their most coloured, their most 40% domestic entry-level stuff, I guess should be the most staid, tame of the bunch. I don't know. This is one that you've got a head start on me.
Yes. In fact, this is one Tim gave me as a birthday gift. I recently got older, and to help soften the blow, what better than a good whisky?
And I know that any whisky I get to Dave, it's always going to come back around eventually. Yes. So it's always it's an investment as well as a gift. So, Loch Lomond, and we're going to get that. Despite it looking pretty sharp, I'm not going to have it do me like the Scarabus did for us and destroy the...
Yeah, it's a very reflective label.
Destroy the contrast on the video this time. So, got myself a big one there, never mind. Oh, yes, promising. Off the bat, it has that immediate Loch Lomond, what do you call it, medicinal, that slightly mineral, slightly Irish mossy.
Just a little, yeah. It's a very slightly peated, well, it's not even very slightly, but it's a mildly peated whisky.
It's not quite as strong as in the Inchmurrin branded bottles. I forget exactly why they had a separate range called Inchmurrin, but it was just another name for the Loch Lomond whisky, and that was very, very present in there. This one is a bit more, middle of the road, which makes sense if it's their sort of their entry level one. But in addition to that odd medicinal, flinty almost minerality, there is pretty clear cut Highland character in there. Really, there's honey, fruits, pretty juicy fruits on this one. It's quite a runny whisky. There's not a lot of. It's not a very stewed fruit. It's more of a fresh fruit and very, very red fruit. Lots of red apples.
Also getting golden syrup and oat biscuits.
Yeah.
Digestives.
God, it's been a long time since I've had a digestive. I think I last had a digestive on camera on Ben Nevis. You can go and watch it if you want. Tour of Scotland episode 3 was, I believe, the last digestive that crossed my lips. But yeah, not a big biscuit guy.
We've got, I believe, exclusively American oak here.
Okay, well that makes sense. This is undoubtedly coloured, in addition to being chill filtered and 40%, so I shan't make any grand observations based on the
getting
colour.
that kind of colour off American oak would take a lot of years.
Well, it would, and I mean, it might never happen depending on the oak you've got. It doesn't. It does not impart a great deal typically, but we'll forgive them. We'll forgive them that one. I really like the clarity of the flavour in here. It's very, if you can imagine a flavour, this one would be crystal clear, translucent, which is a slightly synesthetic way of processing a smell, but that's the best that I can describe it. It's rings very clear, to use a completely different analogy. And on the palate, weirder on the palate. I think more of that Loch Lomond quirk.
There is a good hit of minerality, like a particularly dry white wine. Now we get some very flinty whites in some parts of New Zealand's wine growing
even more dry white wine. Dry, almost did a spoonerism on that one. It's in very, very dry, North Canterbury Riesling and Otago Riesling. Sometimes, less so, you get a real flinty, split stone minerality, they call it. And it's quite apt, because if you're in a hot riverbed and you decide to whack a stone in half because you're a geologist or a weirdo, then you get this real, as all these volatiles react with the oxygen, and you get that petrichor kind of a smell, which is the other name for wet pavement in the rain.
Smell of rain.
Which is one of my favourite smells in the world. I really like that. And there is no small quantity of that in here. So whether that's coming through as some bizarre distillation sort of character, or whether that's the hint of peat.
I think it's a manifestation of the peat.
Yeah. I think that's probably the right call there. I'm not sure how you would manifest it just with a distillery character.
There's still those sweet notes there, their digestive biscuits, honeyed grains and so forth, but there is that peaty minerality backing it up, and it is a nice balance.
Yeah.
The two play off each other really well.
I think the only my qualm with this one is that you can kind of taste the entry level. It has that. This is pretty borderlinely aged whiskey. This is just old enough rather than old enough.
There's a lot of very young spirit there, and it's coming through as sort of a roughness and unrefined harshness rather than being vigorous and energizing.
Though I will temper that observation with the fact that this is one of the cheapest single malts I think I've managed to buy in a few years. Not to say I got you an intentionally bargain birthday gift, but it was a very, very affordable single malt, especially because it disclosed the distillery. I haven't quite got one for the channel just yet, but there's the delightfully named Krabby's Highland something, which even outs itself on the back as a whiskey designed for mixing. So, oh, good, that's exactly what you want to. That's the universal vote of confidence to read on a bottle of single malt whiskey. But that was cheaper. This one wasn't far behind. So, yeah, pretty jolly affordable as entry level malts go.
It holds its own really well. I'd say that it's got obviously a lot of young whiskey, but that's not all it has. And it really does mesh quite well into the overall whole.
Yeah. So I think for people that might want to check this out, it's probably not for any super duper aficionados, but if you want some good sort of house whiskey around there, or you say want to pay half what you'd pay for a bottle of Glenfiddich for something that's not quite as good, but it's well within the ballpark, I'd say this, as value picks go, it's not a bad one at all.
And with that mix of sweetness and complexity and a little bit of mineral heft, this would be a superb whiskey for trying to win over a bourbon aficionado. If you want to just tempt someone over to the Scotch side, this would be an ideal dram to offer up. It caters to all sorts of palates, a brandy drinker, a bourbon drinker.
Versatile enough. I'm going to recycle the cube from the previous video. Does just fine over ice, and you can be confident that you're not putting anything of tremendous rarity to the sword by doing so. Crispy. That's what I'd call that. All right, scores for this family friendly whiskey here. It's not. I don't think it was made to take on the world. It was made to do a job, and it works pretty hard at that job. It's an 82 from me. What do we think?
I'm in a very similar ballpark. It is very good at what it does. It doesn't try to be top shelf, super old, ultra premium whiskey. It's affordable, but it's still accessible and of very high quality, and I rate it an 83.
God, if we could only describe ourselves as accurately. All right, this has been the Single Malt Review, your family-friendly, reasonably affordable YouTube channel, and we will be right back with some more whiskey for you right around the corner. Slàinte.